maybe around New Year's, maybe before.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
people should be around between Xmas and New Year's. Okay.
Exactly. That might be a nice time. And we do all the scenes for all these masechtas.
Okay, we'll figure out a date.
So it says Yud Ches Amud Aleph. Yes.
Yeah. Alazar, you have your
Lazar, you have to
mute.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You're okay here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's what Yom Shulchan. So there were dates. There was a Masechta called Megillas Taanis. In Megillas Taanis were various dates of various Yomim Tovim. For example, there was a certain Gzeira that the Romans did, and then they were saved from the Gzeira. So they made a Yontif, and that Yontif you couldn't fast, and you couldn't make eulogies. But not only that, they would aser the day before and the day after as well. So that means because they said one of the Yomim Tovim was from the 8th of Nisan to Pesach. So the Gemara wanted to say, well, Pesach we know. Why would you have to say Pesach? So to say that the day before Pesach is also prohibited. Kaman Krab Yosi de Omar, Bein Lefan of Bein Lachrav Osir. The dates that are listed in Megillas Taanis, it's prohibited to do a hesped the day before and the day after. So Iachi Be'esrim Esisha Nami. So the 29th day of Adar. My area, so the first day of Nisan was the day that was made a yontif because they established the Korban Atami. So what? To tell you that the day before, i.e. the 29th of Adar would be Osir of a typically we would know that it's prohibited to make a eulogy on the 29th because it's the day after the 28th. And the 28th is also a day that's listed, the Tanya, Be'esrim Utam Nebei. On the 28th day of Adar, also Psorta Tavtul Yudoi, good news for the Jews, the Lo Ye'idin Min Araisa, that they don't have to violate the Torah. Shepamachas Gozra Machus Arashar Shmad al Yisrael. The Romans made a decree. Shelo Yasku b'Torah, they shouldn't learn Torah. V'shelo Yamulus Bneihem, they shouldn't circumcise their children. V'sheichalalu Shabbosos, and they should violate Shabbos. Mo also Yehuda ben Shemua v'Chavir. What did Yehuda ben Shemua do? Holchu v'notlu eitzah mimatrunisa achat. They went and took a advice from a certain Roman matron. She called G'dolei Romi Mitzuyin Etzla. She used to throw the swankiest parties, and all the Roman senators would end up in her house. Amr Lahem. So the Jewish delegation came to her, and they said, "What should we do?" So she advised them, "Imdu vavginu balayla. Go and make a demonstration. Holchu vavginu balayla. Amru ishamayim." They called out to heaven. Lo achim anachnu. Aren't we all brothers? Lo b'nei av echad. Aren't we all sons of the same father? Lo b'nei em achaz. Aren't we the sons of the same mother? Manish taninu mikol uma v'loshan shetem goyim v'len gzeres rose. They were referring to the fact that Esav, the Romans are from Esav, and they said, "Listen, we're cousins." Right? We're the same. You have the same mother, the same father, Yitzchak and Rivka. Why should you treat us different than all other nations that are under your rule? By the way, in general, when we look at Roman history, the Romans were not like the Greek Hellenizers. The Romans usually left everyone alone regarding their religion. That's why, for example, they didn't have any problem with the Jews. You know, they had a problem with the early Christians. The Romans did persecute the early Christians because they respected old time religion that had a long history, and they knew the Jews had a long history. So they were very tolerant. Then later on, when the Jews rebelled against Rome, they came down very hard on them. So After the demonstration, bitlum, they abolished the gzeira. But also Yom Shasu Yom Tov. That day was the 28th day of Adar, and they made it a yontif. So why do you have to tell me that the 29th is Osir because of Rosh Chodesh? It should be Osir to make a eulogy because of the day after 28th. Yeah, but Adar isn't always a 29-day month. Sometimes it's a 30-day month. Therefore, the 30th day of Adar would be Osir, not the 29th day. So I had to be told that the 28th day is a yontif, so that the 29th would also be Osir to make a eulogy. That's the way Abaya learns. Rav Ashi Amar Afilu Teimel L'Chodesh Chaser. I can give you an answer even for a 29-day month. Kol Sha'achrav B'Taanis Chaser, but Be'as B'Mutter. Means the day after a yontif, you can't fast, but you're allowed to do your eulogy. But V'zeh Hoy L'Mutal Ben Shnei Yomim Tovim. Since the 29th is placed in between two holidays, in between 28th, which was a holiday, and the 1st of Nisan, which was a holiday, Asuk Yontav Atzmo, Valfil Be'as B'Nam. So they made it like a Yontav itself, and they said that you can't do eulogies. Amar Mitamne Bei Vatsof Moada Itutuv Chagad Shvud Lo Lemispid. So from the 8th of Nisan until the end of the Pesach was also Yomim Tov, that not to do eulogies, because we're going to see that the Tzdukim tried to get rid of Chag HaShavuos, and we saved them from that. So we already had a yontif from the 1st to the 8th. So why do you have to mention the 8th? You should mention from the 9th. It 8th was already usher to fast. It was already in the period of time between the 1st and the 8th, where they had established the Korban Atomi. And for the Gemara, Kivan de Ilu Miklei Mil Suvatlin L'Shiva, since an Avel can have and a Shiva will come and Muvatal all of that, Tamne Gufa Aser. Then the 8th remained as a Yontif. It was the first of those days from the 8th to the end of Pesach where they had saved Chag HaShavuos from the Tzdukim. This explains the 29th of Adar. Somebody could become an Avel on the 28th, and that they had to answer the 29th itself. Which was the day before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which was the day that they established the Korban Atomi. Itmar. Rav Chia Barasi Omarav, Allah Rabbi Yosi, that the prohibition of fasting and hesped is the day before the day after. Ushmul Amar Allah Rabbi Meir, Frank the Gemara, Mi Amar Shmuel Achi. Did Rav Meir say this? Vatani Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Oimer. Umat Tamid Loimer behind. How come it says behind lemisped behind lisana behind? You can't eulogize on that day, and you can't fast on that day. However, lifnei and lachrein mutarim. The day before those days and the day after are permitted. And Amar Shmuel Allah Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. So how can you tell me that Allah is like Rav Meir? It says, very clearly Allah Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. So meikaras are given the lekatana to make like Rav Meir. Since there was no Tana who was lenient like Rav Meir, Amar Allah Rav Meir. Kivan the Shamil Rav Shimon Gamliel the Mekel Tfei. Rav Shimon was more Mekel because he said both days were permitted. Amar Allah Rav Shimon Gamliel. That both day before and after are prohibited. Explain to me. That's not to fast. Did Rav Yochanan say that? Halachic is tam Mishnah. In general, Rav Yochanan says the halacha is like an unnamed Mishnah. It's not, as an unnamed Mishnah. Even though by reading the Megillah, you can do it on the 11th, 12th, and 13th, but you're allowed to make fasts and hespedim. Amen. So what are we talking about? You're talking about somebody who lives in Yerushalayim, a walled city, they could correlate bar Beisar, and such a person read it on the 14th. Umi Shari, is that permitted? Vaksiv Megillus Taanis. Yom Arba Sarbo, Yom Chamisha Sarbo. The 14th and the 15th are Yom Purim. They're Purim. Inun, the Lord Mispid. Elazar, you have to.
Still,
Yeah, you got to mute yourself.
okay, how's it now? Is it muted?
No. Okay, it's quiet now. So Yom Arba Sarbo, Yom Chamisha Sarbo, Yom Purim Inun, the Lord Mispid Ben. These are Yom Purim that you can't make a eulogy. But Amar Rav Aloy Nitzchel Le'asar Shel Zeh B'Zeh Shel Zeh B'Zeh. The 15th person cannot land on the 14th. The 14th can't land on the 15th. So what are you going to tell me? It's a 14th person who landed on the 15th, and that's why you can't have a hesped Yom Nikanor. That's another holiday called the Day of Nikanor. You're talking about a 14th person who landed on the 13th. But that's Yom Turyainasu. It's another holiday. Ella loved the Kokarle B'Chadsar. He read it on the 11th. Ukitani mutter behasper of a Taanis. So how can you tell me that Rav Yochanan holds that it's also the Taanis? Here it says it's mutter. Lo. It's not the right case. We're talking about Bnei Arba or Kokarle B'Tresar. It's a 14th day person who reigned it on the 13th. Udika Amrit, that's what you said, Yom Trinus, it's another Yontif. Yom Trinus Gufa Batuli Batlu. They abolished that Yontif. Hoil V'nergu Bo Shema V'achia Achiv. Because his brothers were killed. Ki had Rav Nachman Gozer Taanis B'Tresa. Rav Nachman made a Taanis on the 13th. Amar Rabbanan Yom Trinasu. How can you make a Taanis? It's Yom Trinus. Amar Yom Trinus Gufa Batula. They abolished that. Hoil V'nergu Bo Shema V'achia Achiv. Because his brothers were killed. I have typically have a Yom Shalifnei Nikanor. It's the day before Yom Nikanor. Yom Nikanor was another holiday that, because of the gates, which the Gemara will explain what these are. On Ravashi Hashte Iyu Gufe Batlu. They were Mavatal that as well. Between Yom Nikanor, Nekam, and Nigzer. Because Yom Nikanor we should be Geyser? Of course not. So what are these other holidays? My Nikanor or my Turyonis? This Tanya. Nikanor Echad Ma'africha Yevonim Hayot. Nicanor was a Greek officer. He would raise his arm against Yehuda of Yerushalayim, the Omer. When will this city fall under my hand and I will destroy it? Here it is appropriate for Hanukkah. The Chashmonaim were able to defeat him, the Nitzchum. They cut off his thumbs, his hands and his feet. They hung them in the gates of Yerushalayim. The mouth that spoke with such haughtiness. This is the revenge. So that's the holiday of Yom Nikanor. My Triyanis, Triyanis wanted to kill these two Jews, Lulayanis and Papus, in Ludka. Amr Layam, he said to them, if you were from the people of Chanani Mishav Azariah who jumped in to the furnace by Nebuchadnezzar and were saved, let your God come and save you from my hand. So Amru Lo, these two Jews said to him, they were tzaddikim. And a nes could happen for them. And Nebuchadnezzar melech hagunaya, he was a good king. And therefore a miracle happened because he was a righteous, not a righteous king, but a king that Hashem set up to have certain things happen through his offices. The also Russia, you are a head yod, you're not a king. There's no nace that's going to occur. We can see that we've been given a gzera to be put to death from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you don't kill us, Kodesh Baruch Hu has other people that can kill us. There's a lot of bears and lions. Why did Hashem put us into your hands? Hashem wants to revenge against you our blood that you're going to spill. He killed them. A whole group of officers came from Rome and killed him and knocked off his brain. You always start the fast Monday and Thursday, not Thursday. And we don't start also in Goizrin Taanis Rosh Chadoshim. What's called Aschala. If you've had 3 fasts going into it, so then that's what it means, Tchila, unless you've started. Ravasi Yomer Achas, even 1 is considered a start. That if there is a series of fasts, you don't initially make a fast on Chanukah or Purim or Rosh Chodesh. But if they've established a number of Taniyos, Monday, Thursday, Monday, and all of a sudden either Chanukah, Purim, or Rosh Chodesh falls, you fast and you complete the fast. Misana umashim. Haralach seder Tanias Ketzad, Haralach seder Tanias Ketzad, Haralach seder Tanias Ketzad. Okay, we're going to start the next Mishnah tomorrow night. Tomorrow night we will learn at 8 o'clock.
Very good. Shkoyach, thank you.
Shkoyach, talk to you tomorrow.
Good night.